praise only for my King. Take my lips and let them be filled with messages from Thee, filled with messages from Thee. Take my silver and my gold, not of mine would I withhold. Take my intellect and use every power as Thou shalt choose, every power as Thou shalt choose.
I've been going to this church since I was 6 years old. Before I lived in Kaukauna and Appleton, we went to the Lutheran church there. My mother tells me I ran around a lot. The church is where I was baptized and where my parents were married. When we moved here when I was 4, we church shopped for a long time, but we picked this church because of Tom's messages and the music that is here, because music means a lot to me, and pretty sure it means a lot to my whole entire family. I went to Sunday school since I was in first grade. I've met a lot of people that way and made a lot of friends. The church services was one of my memories. Going to the bars, and bringing the church to the people that would rather sit at a bar, and then they end up having a really good time because they always tell us how they liked seeing us and they liked hearing us play. That brings us to the 9:15 service where we're in right now, where the music is very important here, and I like it because you don't always sit and stand like in most churches, and you get to, I don't know, it's different, and that's good. Why is giving important? And people like to keep money for themselves, or they like to pay for themselves so they're happy, but giving feels better. I think we can all agree. When you give somebody a compliment, don't you feel better afterwards? I don't know. Just something to think about there. And the building we're in right now, that's where the money goes to. The pastor's salary, so he can go to nursing homes, and he tells us a lot about how he goes to nursing homes and gives to the, dying people and gives them last bit of hope and, that happiness that they've actually done good in their life, I guess. Christian education is what goes to here too, Sunday school, and keeping this place running. What I've learned in my Christian education, that it's okay to ask questions about why you're here, ask questions about faith and, what we believe in. Because that, as a 14-year-old, that's a big part of me, is that I question, why am I here and what is my purpose in this world? It's okay to be unsure. But I learned that it's okay to have faith in God if I'm unsure. It's okay that I let Him guide me where I don't know where to turn, if I don't know to turn left or right. And with Tom's teachings, without him, I wouldn't be able to help one of my friends named Noah. He was convinced he was an atheist and that there was no God. And I sat with him on the way going back from a wrestling meet, and I prayed with him. He didn't know how to pray, so I taught him how. I worked at McDonald's since January, but I quit recently, but I had to deal with so many difficult people, and that is just an understatement there. This one time, this guy was being an absolute jerk to me, and so this lady tapped me on the shoulder and told me to step back, and I went back and I prayed for him, and I came back and I gave him a smile and said, "Would you like to try your order again?" And that helped me through that. And without Tom's teachings, like I said in the last service, I would have clocked him in the face. Lessons that he's helped with is, every time I came to see one of his sermons, either that week or in the future, I had to deal with a certain scenario where his lessons came in handy, very in handy, such as in middle school. and I had to deal with bullying, teachers that I didn't like and couldn't learn from, and the trouble I got into with my ADHD and hyperactivity. Just, it helped so much to have somebody that I could come to and talk to in a time of need, or I just needed to tell somebody about my struggles, and he would sit with me as long as I needed to talk about this, and he would give me help, more help than a therapist could. Today I'm in front of you, not just because of Tom or my parents, because probably all of you have given to this church in some way. And giving that church to this church, I just don't want this church to go away. That's the main thing. I want this church to be here for kids like me that are struggling. I want it to be here for kids that are in need or don't even know how to pray. And that means a lot. And the big thing about this church is to have fun too. Thank you.
Hi, this is Pastor Tom. As part of our stewardship campaign, our youth have been involved in some video projects, including the one you're about to see. Here's what we know. Church attendance, religious attendance in general, but church attendance in America is dropping at a rate of about 2% to 4% per year. And this has been going on for a long time.
My name is Aiden. I am 14 years old.
Hey, I'm Maggie. I'm 15 years old.
I'm Ryan, and I'm 14.
My name is Allie, and I'm 13.
Hi, my name is Haley, and I'm 13 years old.
The same thing is true when it comes to the finances of the church. Expenses ever so slightly exceed giving. And why not? If there are fewer and fewer people coming to church, why should we expect fewer people to give more money? Except for this. Are we really giving?
My name is Liam Stats. I'm 14.
Hi, my name is Blake Service. I'm 12.
My name is Carissa Rotz, and I'm 13.
My name is Mitchell, and I am 13.
My name is Cameron. I'm 14 years old.
My name's Avery, and I'm 13.
My name is Abby. I'm 15 years old.
The Bible teaches us that we are to tithe, to give 10% of our income. Not as the goal, but as our starting place in our giving.
And I would like the church to be here when I'm 25.
And I want the church to be here when I'm 25.
And I would like the church to be here when I'm 25.
I want the church to still be here when I'm 25 because it brings me a sense of love and compassion.
Because I like how everyone's so close.
It turns out that the average with the median income in Portage, Wisconsin is something like $22,000 a year. So let's say that we're running at about maybe 200 active members. Now, if each of those 200 active members were to tithe, that is, give 10% of their income, and they're each just making an average amount of money, which would be $22,000 a year, then you just do the math. It's pretty easy math.
And I want the church to be around when I'm 25 because it's a safe place you can go and a place where you can connect with God.
Because I want to be closer to God.
Because it is a peaceful place, and I know this is a place where I can come when I'm feeling down.
Because it's a place I can go to and feel connected with God and others.
200 people times $2,200, $440,000 a year. That's far more than what our budget is. If everyone in our church simply tithed, we wouldn't have any financial problems.
And I want the church to be here when I'm 25 because it gives me a sense of security and a place I can connect with others.
Because of the music, and I like to play guitar here.
Because I enjoy listening to the sermons.
It really comes down to you and me. Do we really believe that God is at work in us and through us? Do we really long to be close to God, to have an intimate relationship, and to serve God? Because if we serve God, we serve God with all of it. Our time, our talents, and our money.
I want the church to be here when I'm 25 because it's a nice place to meet new people.
I want the church to be here when I'm 25 is because I want to bring my kids here.
Because it's a good place to work on myself.
I don't know what's going to happen to Portage United Methodist Church, but I personally have made a decision to do like Joshua in the Bible. These are the words of Joshua. Choose this day whom you will serve. There's lots of things we could serve. We could serve our comfort. We could serve our security. We could serve our pocketbooks. Joshua says, choose this day whom you will serve. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord.
I want the church to be here when I'm 25.
And I want the church to be here when I'm 25.
I would like the church to be here when I'm 25.
And I want the church to be here when I'm 25.
And I would like the church to be here when I'm 25.
And I hope that the church will be here when I'm 25.
I'm Abby, I'm 15 years old, and I want the church to still be running when I'm 25 so I can hopefully bring my own kids here.
Luke chapter 12, verse 48. From everyone who has been given much, much shall be required. And the one to whom much is entrusted, much more will be asked. Ironic, I sometimes will have conversations with people, and it's always, a complaint about, I ask people, well, why don't you go to church, right? And they're always talking about money. And it's especially funny when it's like, the week we're doing stewardship campaign. But actually the Bible talks about money a lot. This chapter has got a ton of stuff in it about wealth and money. And you got to kind of wonder what that's about. Why does the Bible talk so much about money? And I think one of the reasons is simply the commandment. The commandment's what? I'm the Lord your God, you shall have no other gods before me. And yet money is one of those things that has it becomes for us an idol. It's one of those things that we can serve instead of serving God. And Jesus says you cannot serve both God and money. It can't be done. In fact, when Jesus talks about money, it's rarely a positive. I mean, every once in a while he'll say something good about it, but almost never. It's mostly things like, woe to you who are rich, for you have your reward in full. I don't know if you know this, but his little brother, James, was even harsher. James said, weep and howl, you rich, for the miseries that are coming upon you, for your treasures will consume you. Right? But there it is. That's the thing. That's the problem, is that there's this idol, and in this world it seems that we pursue it and we chase it, and we just want to use it to build our lives and even build our houses.
People steal, they cheat and lie. Well, then what it will buy? Don't they know on the judgment day that the gold and silver will melt away? I'd rather be in a deep dark grave and know that my poor soul was saved than to live in this world in a house of gold and deny my God and doom my soul. What good is gold and silver too
Jesus said, you know, it's like this. There was a really wealthy guy with lots and lots of stuff, and he said, you know what? I'm going to build a storage shed for all of my stuff. And once I built my storage shed and filled it with all of my stuff, I'm going to be able to sit back and say, soul, take your ease and your pleasure in all of your stuff. But on the night that he completed his storage shed, the word of God came to him saying, you fool, this night your soul is required of you. Who's going to enjoy your stuff now? So it is with those who are rich in this world, but poor towards God. Now, I got to wonder, though, why? How did we get here, where money is such a competition for God, such a competition for faith? Why is it that we're always seeking after this? What is it we're missing? And you know, I think that it's a disconnection between our practice of church and our faith. I mean, you know how it is. You hear people talking all the time about when they were kids, how maybe they went to Sunday school, mom and dad dropped them off, and they would just go to Sunday school, or how maybe they would go to church with grandma or something, and their parents would stay home. And it's hard to connect with God when it's like that.
Sunday morning, very bright, I read your book by color light that came in through the pretty picture window. I visited some houses where they said that you were living, and they talked a lot about you, and they spoke about your giving. They passed a basket with some envelopes. I just had time to write a note, and all it said was, I believe in you. Passing conversations where they mentioned your existence and the fact that you had been replaced by all of your assistants. The discussion was theology, and when they smiled and turned to me, all that I could say was, I believe in you. I visited your house again on Christmas or Thanksgiving, and a balded man said you were dead, but the house would go on living. He recited poetry, and as he saw me stand to leave, he shook his head and said, I'd never find you. My mother used to dress me up, and while my dad was sleeping, we would walk down to your house without speaking.
That feeling of disconnection. You know, we just kind of go through the routine. We don't feel like it's real to us, like it's alive for us. I remember that. You know, as a kid, I remember that. I remember when, because my mom had been hurt by the ministries of the church, especially when she went through her divorce when I was really an infant, so it would have been about 1959 or 60. You understand what it was like back then. And she basically lost her faith. And I remember her telling me when I was about 10 years old, she said, well, I think you're old enough now. She said, I don't really believe any of this stuff. But if you want to keep going to church, go ahead, but I'm not going to bring you anymore. So there I was, a 10-year-old, riding to church on my bike, going to Mass every Sunday. But even so, it was, it felt more like obligation and less than it did like life. Like, it felt like something you did, not something you lived. So it wasn't until I was in 9th grade that, now you heard Cooper talking about his friend Noah and sharing, how to pray, right? I had an experience something like that. It was a high school senior who was telling me about Jesus and about the fact that it's possible to have a personal relationship with God, and I'd never even thought of it that way. Now, I got to tell you, God does not usually, I don't hear the voice of the Lord. We don't have scenes like in that earlier video, this is God. I don't have that happen typically, but every once in a while, it's clear as a bell, and this time it was, because as he was talking to me about Jesus, I remember hearing clear as a bell these words, "Who do you say that I am?" Well, not only did I go to Mass all those years as a kid, but I went to parochial school, which means I totally got the religion stuff from the nuns, so I knew the answer. You are the Christ, Son of the living God. And then I remember hearing, clear as a bell, then shouldn't that be the most important thing in your life? And I was like, whoa. And that was a shifting point for me, a moving from my religious faith. I said, yeah, I believe in God, and I'm just kind of doing it because that's what you do, to I'm living my life in a relationship with God through Jesus Christ. I'm living as one of God's people. Now that changes stuff. It changes how we feel about everything. It changes the choices we make. It changes how we feel about money. But then there's this thing that happens because, money is still pretty strong in this world. And you got to have money to eat, and you got to have money to put a roof over your head, and you got to have money for that stuff. And so what starts to happen is you start to find yourself struggling because you hear the Bible saying 10%, and you're like, what? You mean I take my paycheck and just move a decimal point over, and then that's the amount I'm supposed to give? But how am I going to save for all the cool stuff I want? How am I going to build up my finances? How that's going to happen? I mean, this is really hard, and so we struggle with that as Christians throughout our lives. We struggle, and the average Christian gives about 2%, and then we feel that pressure, and it's sort of like, why is it that way? What is that about? And part of the reason it's that way is because you and I tend to look at ourselves from the perspective of lack. We don't have enough, right? That's how we see it. We say, if I only had, right? So maybe it's a poor person in Haiti who says, if I only could eat lunch every day, then I'd be happy. And then somewhere in a slightly less bad third world country who says, if I could only eat 3 times a day, then I'd be happy. And then it's someone else who says, if I could only have a job, I'd be happy. And then it's somebody with a job who says, if only I could get that promotion, then I'd be happy. And then it keeps going, and pretty soon it's, if only I could get that new ultra flat screen TV, then I'd be happy. They've come down in price. They used to be $5,000, and now you can buy them for just a few hundred. In fact, that's 1/10. It's a tithe. The TV industry is tithing TVs now. Hallelujah. And so, we struggle with that because we think of ourselves in terms of lack, always in terms of lack. And we never think of ourselves as having lots. And so when Jesus says, from those to whom much is given, much is expected, we're like, well, that doesn't apply to me. Much as I don't have a lot. Excuse me? Think about this. Do we throw away leftovers? Do we throw away old clothes? Do we throw away junk? Do we have discretionary spending? Do we have a roof over our heads? We have so much. We have enough and more. We have plenty and then some. And so the real question is, if we can shift our mindset and we begin to think differently, we begin to see ourselves from that perspective of abundance, and instead of asking, oh, how in the world am I going to? When it's just, I struggle so much financially, and instead we flip that around and we said, I got plenty and then some. What am I going to do?
I got plenty and then some. What do I do? Plenty and then some. What do I do? to give. I've got to give. I've got to give. I've got to give. When you got enough to give away, well, that's the only way to live. I'm going to heaven. What do I do? I'm going to heaven. What do I do? I'm going to heaven. What do I do now? I go out and help somebody. I go out and help somebody. I go out and help somebody get to heaven too.
Please direct your attention to this helpful video on how to fill out a pledge card.
Hey, what are you guys doing?
We're filling out our pledge cards.
Oh, I should fill one out too. Name, address. I have more than one phone number. Which one should I use?
The one that you use most.
I suppose I should do the same with my email. The email I use most. For 2018, I pledge. I've never actually pledged before.
Oh, it's easy. Just write down a number. Now write down another number. Now write a 0.
There, done.
Now write down another 0.
This pledges what percent of my income?
The Bible tells us we're supposed to give 10% of our income.
Well, if I give this much, then I'm only giving 2%. Can I change what I wrote above?
Sure.
What's electronic giving?
That's where the money comes automatically from your bank every month.
That's how I pay my mortgage and my auto loan.
And my Netflix.
It sounds like a great idea. How do I sign up for electronic giving?
Just flip over your pledge card.
Hey, I give electronically, and this year I'm increasing my pledge. How do I do that?
All you gotta do is sign and date the backside of the pledge card.
What's this stuff about routing number and account number?
You don't have to worry about that right now. The church office will contact you for the information.
Don't forget to sign it.
What do I do with it now?
Well, we're going to bring them to the front of the church and offer them before the Lord.
Promising to give like this. It's kind of scary. Can I wait to see how much money I have at the end of the year?
If we trust God, we give to God first.
God is trustworthy.
It still feels scary.
Scary, but good. Trying to clean my ears with that pen. Can my guy dab at the end?
Oh, this pain, I wonder if I'll ever find my way. I wonder if my life could really change at all. All this earth You make me new. You are making me new.
Take a minute now, greet one another in the love and peace.